All right, coming to you live from Alameda, California, by way of San Francisco on the airwaves. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it going for Ralph, Zig, Tycho.
Hey, good morning, Paulie.
Good morning,
How
sir.
are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Before we go any further, introduce the guest, please.
All right, we have joining us today, and of course, I'm on the wrong camera. There we go. Joining us today from San Francisco, also is Brooke Larson. She's a linguist and also our neighbor here in the
Yeah.
in the dark, deep recesses of the Oddfellows building.
Yeah, fellow dungeon mate.
Fellow dungeon mate. There
Yeah.
you go. Good to have you here. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you got away from your shackles for just a little bit.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for joining us in the zone with Zig. What's
Oh.
happening, Ziggy?
Well, I understand you're from Everett, Everett, Washington. Am I correct?
Yeah. Proud Evertonian.
Good. I have very happy memories in Everett,
Oh,
Washington.
you've been there.
I was the Topps baseball card representative for a number of years, and one of my stops was to see the Everett Giants
Yeah.
run by Buzzy Vivacio's kid. I
Yeah.
can't remember which of the brothers, but he disliked me considerably, but that I remember. Um, and but I got to sign the players that were first year minor league players the in the organization to their tops contract.
Oh, cool.
And so when they reached the big leagues, Tops had the permission to use their picture on cards and likenesses, and I got to give each player a $5 contract signing fee, which players considered that what they called stake money. Now it would be hamburger money, but
And not even in San Francisco.
Yeah, right. Side fries money.
no, in San Francisco it costs you more than $5 to get into San Francisco these days. Am I correct?
That is
We're
correct.
told,
French toll, I believe it's 7.
Right. Well, Everett was the second northernest place I visited on my yearly excursion. Bellingham, Washington, close to the border, was second. Can you tell me something about your experience, Brooke, in growing up in Everett that was unusual or memorable? Give me a taste of being in Everett, if you would.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Everett. Like I said, I think it was Bill Bavasi who owned the Giants back in the day. I remember going there as a kid. Yeah, Everett, I mean, is the northernmost town over 100,000 in the contiguous United States. So when I was growing up, what I thought was extremely normal was just darkness for a lot of the year, say in the winter, getting up, going to sleep in the dark. And only upon, moving out and down south did I realize that's pretty uncommon. So I'd say that's the most notable thing from growing up there,
What did you do to establish an identity in a small town?
I went to Seattle. I left, I
was gonna
guess.
say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I left.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
They talk about you anyway, so
Yeah.
Seattle, all it does is rain anyway, so people have the weather to talk about. Seattle is great on some level.
Oh, yeah.
Do you miss Washington, living in California? And what do you miss? And what do you like about being in California?
Well,
You didn't realize you were going to have to do an oral book report,
hey,
did you?
No, I'm hyped for this because I'm like again, I'm
Well, we'd
stifling
like to
all
get
my
to
like
know her,
excitement.
Paulie.
Right. No, I'm just saying. I know we don't get out much, and it's on a Tuesday, and we really go all out. So I'm
Well,
sorry.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
like I mean, so when I moved down here, I thought I was only going to move down for a year. I was like, oh, I need a job. There's money
Brooke,
down here.
Brooke, we have a real interviewer coming in, and Paulie for next. So all I can do is babble and admire um, anybody who makes a move,
Yeah,
be it north, south, east, or west. Because I made a move from New York, and I thought it took a lot of guts
yeah,
establishing roots somewhere else and looking for where you want to be.
yeah. I mean, I
I
bounced around quite a bit.
I admire you. What do you like about San Francisco? And I'll turn it over to Paulie.
I mean, I moved down here in September and there's still flowers blooming, just the hills and all the stereotypical beauty that you get here. I really love that. But I miss the moss. I need some gloom and darkness and moss, which you just can't find around here. Like
Well, you fit in so well with the other women in my life in terms of seeking darkness. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I guess it's when I find them that they seek the darkness. But I'm used to it.
Better
Don't
than
worry
seeking
about
a shelter.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I say.
it.
No, but I mean, yeah, okay, but we're coming up on the gloomy season. We're coming up on October. Do you like Halloween? Do
Oh,
you celebrate?
100%. I love it. Like, I really love people just getting out in the streets and interacting with strangers and being weird. I think
Right.
more holidays should do that.
Yeah, and it's actually, even though it seems like every year they were celebrating it, even in the beginning
Oh,
of September
God,
or
yeah.
end of August, people were decorating for October already, and I'm like, really?
I think it's a little ridiculous.
It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I don't fall into the trap that I used to, which is buying candy that I'll actually eat.
Yeah.
And then I never buy it before the month of October, and I definitely don't buy it.
Right.
I buy it right up. I'll buy it like a week before.
Yeah, right at the peak of the price.
Right at the peak of the price. Yeah, no, wouldn't want any deals or anything, or half price the day after. And then yeah, it was like 2 years ago, we had like a couple hundred kids come to our house.
Damn.
And so we ran out of candy like twice.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we're like, okay, we're going to do it right. And so we got the big old trash bag full of whatever can of candy from Costco or whatever it was. And I think we saw 20 kids.
Yeah, of course.
So we have enough candy to last us the next couple of years, but it's all candy that nobody will eat.
Yeah.
It's like jawbreakers that look like eyeballs.
Oh, dang. Yeah. That's not the Reese's Pieces cups or whatever.
No, because those would be gone,
Yeah,
or they would be thrown into a milkshake or something,
right?
But yeah, so I that's really the reason I love Halloween is chocolate season. I mean candy. I mean it's the kids. No, wait, that's wrong too. That sounds creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I see you're hanging out with a buddy there. You got a little friend on your shoulder. It's kind of like your parrot.
Oh, his name is Cleon, and named after Cleon Jones. And he's one of the little guys I've been carrying around with me for 25 years. I'll just stick it to Cleon this time, but I'm going to introduce in future shows, not to get your hopes up too high, George S.
Oh, for George Steinbrenner.
Thomas Peter.
Oh, jeez.
So, but these guys bring me good luck wherever I go. And there you go.
So how's the weather over there in Alameda?
Absolutely. After a week of fall-like weather, Alameda has been absolutely gorgeous in the last few days. It's gorgeous. The weather is gorgeous. So anybody considering a visit to California, Alameda in particular, now is the time. They call it Indian summer because technically it is it's autumn.
Well, there you go. because
So,
making it sound, calling it Native American summer just sounds silly. That's why I thought. But anyway,
right, exactly. And is that offensive to Indian folks?
well, what were they
Um,
saying? Somebody was trying to tell me no, that's not their proper name either, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I just give up.
I'm
It's
done.
like whatever.
Whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah.
how about if I
And it's
just call you Sir? Thanks for the weed.
well, and then now I'm calling people that are. So I'm using the term dude as a catch-all
Yeah.
for every sex, gender classification. Even my mom,
Uh,
I'm like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah. No,
At this
100%.
point,
Hey, this is my wheelhouse as a linguist.
it's less
right? As a linguist, yes. Let's
offensive.
go to the linguist. Let's go to the
And I
professional
think
on
that's
this.
100% legitimate. Like words change their meanings. Like girl used to just mean any little kid.
Well,
That-
even he was just sounding like I was gonna say it. He sounded like when he was saying what the weather was like. He sounded like a Jewish goyle.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right.
Absolutely,
It's-
absolutely, and proud to sound that way. Proud to bring up the voices. I was going to say, calling someone dude is less offensive than calling them Skippy.
100%. Yeah.
Right? No, I'm serious. Yeah, I mean it's kind of it is the
I
catch-all.
mean, same like you guys, you know. Say
You guys.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
saying. that
It's
they're-
not like I'm saying they're male or
Yeah,
female
yeah.
or whatever.
It just means you people, you know.
That
You're not
you know,
supposed to
I've heard dude referred to with women quite a bit.
Yeah.
They'll talk to each other. Come on, dude.
Yeah, even amongst ourselves, like it's.
I want to get a shirt that says preferred pronoun X and O.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm just yeah.
Yeah.
Or an XY or just I identify as a sperm. It's like a little
Yeah,
sperm.
It's like a little.
Yeah, a little egg with a little tail on it and
Brooke, what do you do for fun?
For fun?
Yeah.
Have any fun? No, actually, I go to Alameda. The pinball museum. I love the pinball.
the
museum.
pinball museum.
Dude, it's so cool.
Oh,
No.
I've
Oh, it's incredible.
been there many times.
Yeah.
We'll have to meet and have a cup of coffee and take a walk, and you can come down by the shore.
Yeah, I go to bowling at the Bolero there.
There's so okay, wait, hold on. Is Bolero the fancy one?
Yeah, I don't like. the
Yeah,
fancy
you say
one. But it is. I love. Bowling.
you sold out. Yeah, I love bowling too. So I go
Yeah.
to bowling league on Thursdays, and so we have a Bolero out in the valley in Manteca, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring during the summer break. I was like, I'm gonna bring my ball home so that I can go bowling at the local bowling alley. And I'm like, oh, it's a Bolero, and it's gonna have all this fancy stuff, but you can just go bowling.
Yeah.
You can't just go bowling.
I know. I miss the like fluorescent lights, the old people smoking. I like miss that sort of regular bad carpet, bright
Right.
bowling alley. you
Yeah,
know?
it should smell like stale beer
Yeah,
and
100%.
cigarettes, right? And
Yeah.
so I literally, so I think they wanted me to pay $25 for
I know it's just
a
like
couple
shocking.
games.
It's ridiculous.
And I was like, wait, hold on. What are you doing? And it's all lights and
Yeah. Which used to
You know,
really be,
that
like,
description of bowling alleys made me want for the one in Concord.
Mm.
I used to teach traffic school, and that was a venue for a long time. And it smelled like hell. You got stale beer and stale people, but I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it. Sundays in Concord, teaching traffic school at Pizza Traffic School.
Huh.
And no one enjoyed being there except me because it was Sunday and I was going to be off the next day. And I was getting paid for it all. And I got to meet a lot of people. And that was a good gig.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this bowling alley across from the park? It's called Lucky Strike.
Oh yeah, dude, it's too
Expensive,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's all dark and glitzy and like. There's a good one in Daly City. It's 50 lanes. It's huge and it's just.
And it's
plain.
regular bowling. It's
just straight up
plain.
regular bowling. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do
Great
anything
name,
like that
Lucky
anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was saying great name, Lucky Strikes.
Yeah, Lucky Strike is pretty cool, and it's retro looking and it's neat looking. But I think the one time I went there, I ended up going there for a party, and it was like, oh, okay, I wouldn't mind going bowling, but they weren't bowling; they just did it for the locale.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I forget. I think I looked at the price of bowling then, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Paulie, we're both smokers
Yes,
of the cannabis variety. I'm just curious because we haven't seen each other in a week. What are you smoking this week?
Just got a new flavor to savor, and I can't remember what it is. The other one I've been smoking on is White Thorn Rose by Huckleberry Hill Farms, and I see you're holding up a warning for our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a warning. This is the prop.
Here it is. What I'm smoking, which is called
Glass House Farms. Okay.
Yeah, Glass House Farms Gush Mints.
Oh yeah, those are tasty.
I simply cannot recommend cannabis enough to my fellow humans. And I wanted to talk. I sent a picture. I wanted to talk about cannabis that was not for smoking, and I want to ask the rhetorical question because it could help build your house, stopping and cutting down trees and what have you, cotton fabric without the boll weevil. It's the high notwithstanding, it's two different plants. Hemp, I'm talking about. What in the hell stops hemp from being legal in this country? Even if you don't want to get high, God forbid you should change your consciousness and this, that, or the other thing. But
because there's still a percentage of THC in hemp. If they could extract, it's kind of like what is it? Decaffeinated coffee. Decaf, it's in void of any caffeine. It just has very, very, very little. And so same thing with hemp. There is THC in hemp, but you would have to smoke a football field of it. And you would definitely get a headache before you would get high.
And you would be buying it to build a house.
Somebody handed me a joint the other night and said, "Oh, this is for you." And they showed me a pack of cigarettes, and I want to call it Cosmic Panda, and they were called hemp rockets. And what it was hemp rolled up, non-psychoactive, just for the flavor, but then they put THCA in it to get you high. And I'm like, I'm really confused. Why would you? It's like getting oregano and and lacing oregano or something. It's like, wait, are you just doing it for the flavor?
Well,
is it just for the act of doing it? Because it's not going to be less expensive.
No, less in a way, it might even be more expensive because of the THCA. That stuff's like you can buy that. It's like $50 a gram because that's like almost 100% THC. When you smoke that, that's the crack of marijuana.
It sounds like a bunch of stuff. A bunch of well-educated chemists with nothing on their minds, and have already been smoking dope, or they wouldn't have thought of that. Anyway, I got my my Canna Talk today.
You Canna Talk, yes, you did.
So I feel better, and I got to spend some time with you, Paulie B.
Yes, sir.
And meeting Brooke on face to face on this podcast, and having you a part of it was really a pleasure. And we got a good second half coming up. We're gonna interview. We already have the interview in the can, and Paulie will get it in with Larry Schechter, who wrote a very compelling book the history of fantasy sports. And after all, um, I I stand by sports is great. It's been a big pastime for me, and especially baseball. And having my memories, having being able to go back in memory land with this podcast has been tremendous. So thank you, Paulie B.
No
And
problem. We're gonna do your shout out now, so I don't forget about Dennis. Let's kind of do that right now with you.
that'd be great because I have for the past 3 weeks been almost a different person because my big worry is not my health failing, 77 years old, but the state of my vehicle. Especially, it's my abode for the most part, and it's um, what do we call it? The what do we call it, Paulie? It's the motor. Give me another hint.
About what happened
So
to your vehicle, because what happened to your vehicle is the overflow for your radiator went out.
right. Well, I needed someone because I couldn't drive it to a shop. I needed someone who qualified under Yelp standards, and I did some research, and who made mobile diagnosis and would fix anything minor, couldn't put fluids in, or couldn't do it by the law. But so um, out comes Dennis, and we hit it off right away. He made me feel like everything's going to be fine, which is the first step a mechanic needs to go through to assure his um, his client that not to worry. It's like having a baby. You worry about your kid, and so we worked things out, and lo and behold, this guy liked what we do here and wanted to advertise on our show. So we are giving him as much time as possible on a weekly basis, kind of as a trade-off for me to be assured that if my BMW, which sounds great, but it's a difficult car to work on and expensive to work on. So I pay the parts, he pays the labor, and we give him the word out there, the shout out on a weekly basis that he so richly deserves. Because I went out to his shop with the car and watched he and his crew work hand in hand and make the 5 or 6 people that came in all had different needs, all needed talking to, and I watched the way they related as humans to their customers, so that if you need a mobile mechanic or need a mechanic you can trust, what's the number?
All right, check out D1 Mobile Auto Service. That's right, D1 Mobile Auto Service at 510-978-7064. That's the number again, it's 510-978-7064. Check out D1 Mobile Auto Service, and you can check them out on the web at d-1mobileautoservice.com. They do everything from engine assembly, transmission, clutch kits, suspensions, diagnostic, water pumps, you name it. Check out Dennis and his crew, D1 Mobile Auto Service, 510-978-7064.
And Dennis runs a wonderful show. not a show, a wonderful shop where, first of all, it's clean as a whistle. And second of all, the people he has working with him work as a team. And there's no ego involved. Everybody is doing something different. Everybody contributes to every job in one way or another. So, I mean, as checkout, as what have you. And it has contributed to my getting to the point where I'm comfortable in my skin on a daily basis, not worrying about one less thing to worry about. How about that?
There you go. All right,
all
so
right.
check out one less thing to worry about with D1 Mobile Auto Service Repair.
Well,
Hey,
you gotta worry
I'm
less.
thinking of you were
You
talking.
gotta worry less as an old person, or it'll consume you, because there's enough out there to worry about that I don't need to add a vehicle to my worries.
No, not at all. So, and I want to give a shout out to my friends over that do this great product. Check it out. I'm looking to see if they actually have a different name on it than what I'm looking for. Okay.
Are you looking for butt plugs?
It's Staligi Confections in Oakland. They make a chocolate bar. This is not a chocolate bar for kids at all.
Halloween.
No, yeah. Don't hand this out at Halloween, folks. This is called the Psyche Mushroom Infused Chocolate Bar.
Wow.
So each one of these little squares is a half gram of mushrooms, magic
Oh,
mushrooms.
wow.
And
the trouble with mushrooms historically is it's been so difficult to ingest. And this sounds like
no, it's not easy. It's not hard this way. Matter of fact, you got to really watch your dose this way. So yeah, so we Staligi Confections in Oakland, California. We'll hear more about them. I've already done my own little review of the product, and yes, 2 thumbs up for me alone.
Hey, I'd like to offer my condolences to those who have rooted, you included, Paulie, for the Oakland A's for these many years. They are officially done in Oakland.
Yeah, and Brooke is actually wearing her last dive bar in Oakland Coliseum shirt, if you can see it.
I went to the game last Friday.
You went to the last game? Was that the last stand?
No, but it was the fourth. It was like one of the last games.
It's one of the last games. Yeah, I so want to go, but man, that's tough. That's breaking my heart.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about it many times, Ralph.
It was 1968, and I was in the service at Travis, and naturally a Giants sympathizer, because they had been the New York Giants, an apologist, let's put it that way. And the A's came out. It was a totally different world with the uniforms and the mustaches and the spirit of the East Bay. And to watch a game in the East Bay as opposed to the coldness, the bitterness of Candlestick was great. And so I took to them immediately, didn't give up on the Giants and naturally the Mets, but many, many memories there. We've had Nancy Finley among Carl Finley's daughter and Charlie Finley's kin as a guest. She came out here when the A's moved from Kansas City, and she's been a tremendous guest over the years. She's heartbroken, but what can I tell you?
Yeah,
I
and
went through
we've had A's players like even Mike, right? Mike was on the A's. We've had a few
yeah,
A's.
Mike Heath was an ace coach, and it's just that living in the East Bay, it's family. I run into people who are avid A's fans and who are in real mourning, and that brings to mind my 11-year-old experience when the New York Giants moved, and I hadn't even turned 11 yet, and it broke my heart as a kid. And there are things you never get over. And I think I'm going to throw my 2 cents about eminent domain. It's too late for the A's, but these cities should not be allowed, and baseball should not be allowed to win the hearts of kids and old folks and then suddenly move.
steal them and drop them.
Same thing happened with my Seattle Sonics. You know, I was a giant Sonics fan, and then they did basically the exact same thing. Took them to some Oklahoma City of all.
Right, and it's a money thing. It's
Yeah,
never
100%.
because it's the best thing for the fans or the players or whatever. It's a money thing. It's always they're going where the money is.
Right.
Absolutely. And they used to say it's baseball is a business all the time. I've always known it, but it hasn't hit home yet that how big a business it's become and how important the money is and the greed between the Players Association and the owners to make it bad news for the fans in every way.
And Zig, say goodbye to Brooke because we're going to close this segment anyway. But
All
say
right.
hi.
Say goodbye to both of us,
It was
and
great
you're
chatting.
going to handle it.
Yeah, she has to get to work. We're doing what we do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brooke, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Reminds me of Maynard G. Krebs. My mother used to call me Maynard because work was work, and I wasn't good at it, and I knew it. But for all the people out there who choose to find an alternative to work, and that could be work that you have a passion for, doesn't become work. So Paulie's a good example. I'm a good example. Your work should be a passion.
Absolutely.
And that's my word. My word for today. I'm close to the Boyd Sanctuary in Oakland or in Alameda, Brooke. So give me a ring and come down, and we'll walk South Shore.
You got it. She just gave you a thumbs up. She's out the door. But what else do you want to talk about, Zig, before we go into this thing about Larry?
I just want to tell you again, and I say this on a repeated basis, how easy it is for me to work with you, and how if anybody out there who has been guests or on my show or hasn't been guests, and they wish to get the word out in any way, Edge Studios and Paul Brumbaugh is the fella to talk to. He will, like my mechanic, treat everybody as individuals. And so let me know if you need an intro. But if you just went to him and told him who you are and what you need, what you wanted to do, be it your own podcast or video documentaries, paying homage to your family or homage to the times you lived in, we could do it all. I consider myself part of Edge Studios, so I could say we, and I'm privileged. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Zig. And you're right. It's that easy. If you that is true. If it's that easy, if you actually have an idea or something you want to accomplish, where you can help you here. So reach out to us at edstudiosonline@gmail.com. That's edgestudiosonline@gmail.com. Or reach out to us on all social media, including the one that's right below me here, edge_studios_online at Instagram, Facebook, and you name it, we're there. I enjoy doing this, and I love helping people create. So if that's you, let us know how we can help.
Yeah. And I just want to say how much easier life is if one has a dream, whatever it is.
Right.
And keep that dream going, keep it alive. And if it's not working for you, find another dream. But don't give up, and keep trying. And life is much easier that way.
That's right. I like to say, chase your dreams. But if your dream is a wet one, don't slip and fall.
Keep your humor dry and your dreams wet. And I've lived by that for a long time. I'm a hedonist. Nothing wrong with that. Live life the way it should be lived. Look for the simple pleasures and those that aren't so simple. Bye, everybody.
All right. We'll see you next week, Zig.
See you, Paulie.
All right. So we're going to throw this over to the Larry Schechter interview. Here we go, folks. Hope you enjoy. Coming to you live from San Francisco, California. It's time for Ralph, Zig, Tycho, and Zig in the Zone.
I am in the zone to keep your pacing going.
How do you keep that energy going, Mr. Zig?
My God, it's a strain. Let me tell you something, Paul. I am so glad your back is feeling better.
Me too.
After all these weeks. Tell me what preceded that, or what?
I literally woke up wrong. We're at this age that you can cough and blow out a rib or something at this point. And so, it was literally, I woke up wrong and had a bad back for like 5 or 6 days. And it was excruciating. If you look at last week's show, you can actually see me wincing at different parts. And so I'm like, and I'm grabbing my back. So it's good to be back here. Thank you. We have a special episode of Zig in the Zone today.
Well, we certainly do, because one of my favorite topics in the whole world is my experiences with roto ball. Now they call it fantasy ball.
Okay.
And or fantasy sports. And my guest is Larry Schechter, who wrote a book about just that. And you're calling from upstate in New York.
No, it's actually
he's in Boca Raton.
No, he's from Boca Raton, but he's calling from upstate New York, correct? We got Larry Schechter, which is actually the author of The History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of the People Who Made It Happen. Larry, good to have you along on the Zone. How are you doing, buddy?
Good to be here.
Let me clear it up. Where are you calling from?
I'm from upstate New York. I moved to Boca Raton, Florida about 8 years ago. That's where I am now.
Oh, okay. Then I guess I win that one.
You do win that one.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Hey, welcome. First time on our airwaves. And I hope you're comfortable, because we love having you.
I'm comfortable for now. We'll see what happens.
There you go.
All right. Well,
dive right in, Zig.
What part of upstate New York are you from? Because I'm from Queens, in the city.
I'm from Schenectady, which is up near Albany. And so it was confusing being a kid learning how to write and read, spell my name Larry Schechter, Schec, from Schenectady, Schen. That was kind of confusing.
Well, I'm from New York, and it was confusing for me. So I can imagine. Uh, Actually, I'm from Queens, where I took my degree in daydreaming at PS1 at PS 148.
They gave you that special cone hat. It said dunce on the end, right?
Yeah, well, oh yeah. They gave it to me to keep,
They gave it to you to keep.
not just for the day. Larry, what about Schenectady? Because I've never been there and I've never known anybody from there. Um, what about Schenectady is special?
Nothing really.
Okay.
It used to be a big General Electric town. GE used to be the biggest employer by far, but it's not as big anymore. They're still there, but not as big anymore.
And what did you grow up having as your passion?
I always liked sports,
Okay.
um, and golf. You know, watching professional sports, playing board games like Stratomatic baseball and football, playing golf. Those were my passions. I've always played golf, and my, um, my board game baseball turned into fantasy baseball when I heard about that. By the time I was like about 32 or 33 by the time I first heard about fantasy baseball and fantasy football.
Now, if you had a preference, would it be football or baseball?
I like both of them.
Okay. Right on the fence there about that. Um, what did you do for, or what would have you done as your passion if it weren't for sports?
I never thought about that.
Okay.
Um,
Take a
I
deep
used to
breath.
play that. I used to play the piano when I was a teenager. Haven't done that anymore in a long time.
Okay. And what brought you to Boca Raton? How did you decide to move from there, from Schenectady?
Just a change of lifestyle, warm weather, no taxes. I was never a winter person. I don't ski. There's nothing I like to do in the winter. So, it made sense, and glad to be here.
Okay. Are you at Kings Point in Boca Raton?
I know where Kings Point is. Um, Technically, that's in Delray, which is like the next suburb up from Boca.
Oh, okay. Delray, you're right. Absolutely, you would know. What about Boca is different than the other cities in Florida that is especially appealing?
Yeah, what trapped you, Larry? What got you there? What was it?
Well, I was just looking for somewhere in Florida, and I was married at the time, and my wife kind of liked this area better than Tampa or Orlando. And going like Miami, Fort Lauderdale was like more, crowded. So we just kind of ended up here you know, by fluke almost.
And what did you retire from?
I ran a company that did financial services for college students.
Oh, wow. Highly needed. We're talking in a previous episode with Paulie that my son's mother was um,
A professor.
a professor, college professor, made a lot of money, and ended up paying a great deal of that back in student loans with interest. She could never have the type of life that she deserved. What would you tell a, college kid today about uh, about loans, student loans?
Well, I haven't been in the business for many, many years, so I'm not up to date on everything. But I think at this point more of a question of whether or not college is even worth it. The expenses are so crazy. As far as loans, there are some loans that are interest free, like the Stafford loan. I assume it's still interest free. So if you're offered an interest free loan, that's a good thing. Uh, even if you have the money, you can pay it back later, and you don't have to pay any interest on it.
Okay.
And I know we're talking to you today about the history of fantasy sports and the stories of the people who made it happen, your new book. But this is kind of a follow-up from your other book, right? This is actually a follow-up from The Winning Fantasy Baseball, The Secret Strategies of Next Time National Champion, right?
No, not at all. In 2014, I wrote Winning Fantasy Baseball, which is all about my strategy for how to win fantasy baseball. And a lot of it applies to other sports like fantasy football, fantasy basketball, whatever. The book that I just released a few months ago has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Oh, I figured it was a follow-up. People wanted more.
No. Winning fantasy baseball is my strategy on how to win fantasy baseball from everything, from how to project players and draft players and in-season management, the whole thing. This has got nothing to do with it. This is the history of fantasy sports. It's not about me, not about my opinions. It's about how did we go from some ideas people had years ago for games to where we are now, where you have millions and millions of people all over the world playing not only fantasy football, fantasy baseball, but you've got fantasy Iditarod, fantasy snowboarding. I mean, it's fantasy
you name
everything.
it, they've got it.
Yeah. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry with stat services and news services and analysts. And, every time, now when you watch a game on TV, it has all the fantasy information. So, nobody has ever done this before. Nobody really even knew exactly what happened, how we got from that to where we are today. So I kind of thought for several years, somebody should write a book like this. And so I decided to do it. When I started it, the idea was I'm going to write a book called The History of Fantasy Sports and tell, how we got from there to here. As I started to research and talk to people, I learned fascinating information about what various people had done. And I realized that I could just kind of write the facts and figures and who did what when, and it would tell the whole story, but it would also come off like a very boring research paper. But the information I learned about people was fascinating. So that's where I got the subtitle of the book, which is "In the Stories of the People Who Made It Happen." So I'm telling what happened and who did what and when, but I'm also telling people's stories, which have made the book really easy to read and interesting. The reviews are fantastic. People are saying it's an easy read. It's fascinating. The stories are, and some of them are inspirational. Some of them are humorous. Some of them even bring a tear to your eye. So that's what this book is about.
So tell us where fantasy sports started.
Well, they're precursors to fantasy sports like tabletop games, and then you had like Catico, Ellis, All-Star Baseball board game. You had Stratomatic and APA. The difference with the precursors is those were based on games that had already happened, like on professional, like Major League Baseball, for example, but the prior year's statistics.
Right.
Whereas the fantasy sports that we play now, primarily that my book is talking about, are where you're drafting teams, but you don't know what their performance is yet. So like before the NFL season, you draft a fantasy football team, and then you wait and see what happens over the course of the year.
But you're still picking players from whatever era, right? But these teams have never performed, therefore you can't get averages and stats from them because they haven't done anything yet.
Well, no, you're not picking from any era. You're picking from the current season.
From the current season.
Yeah. Like for for fantasy football this year, up until a couple of weeks ago, people were drafting their fantasy football teams full of players that are on rosters this year and going to play this year. So you're going to get their statistics for this year, and you can kind of predict what you think is going to happen based on their past performance. But you never know for sure. Like this last weekend in football, a whole bunch of guys got injured. Several star players got injured. So whoever took them in fantasy football, that's not not a good result for them.
Well, yeah. So then, like you said, you could take their past performances, like even if they're rookies, from their pre-Pro Bowl, pre-pro, pre-pro enrollment, is that you can actually, when they were rookies, you're getting their college stats or whatever, right? And so that's interesting. What about, so everything comes into play. I know that we just one of our 49ers, then one of the new draft picks got shot, and he's on the injured, and he's going to be coming back and making some crazy comeback, a record comeback as far as getting shot in the chest and being able to play football again. And so you guys take it when they look at this, they look at everything, huh?
Well, the college statistics don't count for this. You're trying to project what people are going to do this year. So if a player was in college last year and now he's on a team in the pros, you're just trying to predict based on whatever you know about it, what the person is going to do this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and the guy that got shot, yeah, when I don't, I think his name is Pearsall, I think.
Yeah, Pierce
Yeah.
Saul. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure offhand. I don't think he was necessarily expected to do a lot this year, although I'm not sure about that. But let's just say hypothetically, if he was expected to do a lot, and you had your fantasy football draft before he got shot, somebody took him at a decent pick, and then he got shot. Well, that's too bad. Now you don't get to use him for 4 weeks.
Well, here's my thought, and this, and again, I don't know. I guess you look at everything, but it's like, wow, that guy just got shot. He definitely got trauma and injured, and he's probably not going to be running as hard as he was. I bet you he's going to be doing even better, man. Not even a bullet could stop that guy. So it's going to take a couple hits to bring that guy in.
The bullet hit him in the right place.
Yeah, very lucky. Yeah, definitely played the lottery.
Yeah. Now somebody getting shot, obviously that's very unusual, but this sort of thing is totally common when people, they strain a calf muscle, they have, some other injury. And so, they're going to be out for 2 weeks, or they're going to be out for 6 weeks, or however long. And then there's a question of, okay, when they come back, are they going to be at 100%, or are they going to be less than 100%, or are they going to be at a risk of re-injury? So all these things come into play with fantasy football and fantasy baseball, and every fantasy sport. And injuries are a big part of it. My book covers the whole thing, from precursors to fantasy sports, then how fantasy baseball was invented and spread, how fantasy football was
Larry,
invented.
let me interrupt you for a second. I'm interested in that panel, that first panel of baseball roto guys. Are they mentioned in your book?
Sure, that's what I just said. That the creation and spread of fantasy baseball.
No, specifically.
Yeah, that includes. I assume you're talking about Dan Okrent and
right.
Yeah.
Tell me something about them that stood out in your mind.
Well, Dan Okrent is the guy who is primarily credited with inventing fantasy baseball, and there's a kind of a legend that he magically thought of the idea on a plane ride from Connecticut to Texas, and that is not true. There's a whole lot more to the story. There are also people who played primitive games of fantasy before his invention, but he gets the lion's share of credit for creating the modern game. And as you mentioned, I think you mentioned before, it was originally called rotisserie baseball, or roto baseball for short. The reason is, when Okrent met with some of his friends to kind of finalize the rules and the league, they met at a Manhattan restaurant called La Rotisserie Française. And so they named it after that restaurant. And they also, a little bit later on, they trademarked the name, thinking they might be able to make some money off the game. But what happened is, people would realize that they didn't really have anything that they could protect other than trademarking the name rotisserie baseball. So some people just took the game for their own purposes and simply changed the name from rotisserie baseball to fantasy baseball. so that's where the term fantasy baseball came in. Was just people using that term so they didn't have to pay some kind of trademark fee to Okrit and his guys.
Okay. Did they go on to anything else of note?
Well, Okrit, for example, he's had a very illustrious career as a writer. He's written some books that have won awards. He was the first, I think, he was the first public editor for the New York Times. I mean, the guy's had this illustrious career as a writer and journalist, and it actually kind of pisses him off somewhat that he's remembered so much, for fantasy baseball when he's had this illustrious career otherwise.
I've read about him, and I'm sure that's has to be frustrating. It's like playing a role on a sitcom, and then you're remembered just for that role, as opposed to anything you do pales by comparison.
He's been typecast, huh? Okay, got you.
Okay. How about yourself? What's your next project?
My current project is just promoting the book and getting the word out about the book, and I'll be doing that for the foreseeable future. This is one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. There's never been a book like this. There's never going to be another book like this, and it's needed. It was needed. So I'm just trying to get the word out. Anybody that likes fantasy sports will love the book. If you know somebody that likes fantasy sports, it's a great gift to give somebody. It's available on Amazon and most major booksellers, web, ebook, and paperback. Amazon has a lot of details and reviews about it. And yeah, so I have no plans for anything further.
Okay. What do you do for fun besides all of this? I tried to get to it. What makes you happy on a day-to-day basis besides this, which seems to be your passion at the moment?
Well, I'm still playing fantasy football and fantasy baseball. I'm still playing golf. Um, those are my main hobbies.
How do you express yourself other than through written word? You said you played piano when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was young, and since then I just play a little bit once in a while if there happens to be a piano somewhere. I did stand up comedy for about 6 years or so, but I'm retired from that.
What made you do stand up? What did you think was funny in other people? Who did you listen to? Was it Cosby? George Burns? Who influenced you?
I wouldn't say anybody influenced me, but I have several that I like. Just off the top of my head, Seinfeld. I mean, Robin Williams, Stephen Wright. I mean, there's several. There's several good comedians, but no one really influenced me. It's something that I kind of had always thought of doing, and I got to a point in my life where I had a lot of free time, and decided to do it.
Maybe more inspired than influenced.
Yeah.
Because Robin Williams, I mean, just because I have some sort of ties and we're here in the Bay Area and stuff, and I was just in Robin Williams Meadow 2 days ago, performing, and
Yeah.
so it kind of does. You feel some sort of connection. There is that there, and so it's a great art form. So, have you thought about doing that again?
I've thought about it, but I don't think we'll probably do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you hadn't moved to Florida, where would you have moved to?
I have no idea.
But Eddie, you could be anywhere in the world.
Okay.
We're gonna give you free license, money,
I'll pick Arizona.
Okay.
So you wanted to go somewhere warm because you were from upstate New York.
Yeah, just warm, and golf. I'll go there.
Okay. Just give me some warm and a patch of green, and we're fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Beautiful.
So you're not going to talk about your next project because you're
right now, I would actually pick any state that is very blue or very red, so there would be less political commercials.
wow. Yeah,
'Cause
that's not in this country at all.
right now, I don't know if I can stand another 50 days of these constant political commercials every 2 seconds.
Well, you have to realize this election means an awful lot. If you had to choose one of the candidates, who would it be?
Oh, you're going to ask him that question? We're from the
I'm not.
generation that is just rude to ask. You might as well
I,
ask a lady how much she weighs or how old she is.
Well, how old is that big old?
I am not. Yeah, I am not. I am not answering that question. And I
Good.
think,
Smart
you know,
man.
and I don't know. I think these celebrities and all these celebrities that talk about politics and who they're for. I think that's a big mistake because you're just going to piss off half of your fans.
You're
Well,
going to divide the room no matter what happens. So they say as a comedian, you don't want to divide the room. You want to unite the room. And so when you go in and you start bashing one candidate or the other, you lose 30 to 60%, depending on who you're bashing or whatever. And
Sure.
so
Yeah.
you might as well play it safe. But that's one thing you don't do is play it safe. That's right. It's the history of fantasy sports, the stories of the people who made it happen. Available on Amazon. Give us that shameless plug one more time before we let you go.
It's on Amazon, paperback and Kindle. And that's also where you can see more details about what's in the book and reviews. It's also on most major booksellers' websites, ebook and paperback.
And you still have the Winning Fantasy Baseball book out there. And you can get that at all those links also?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for your time today. We've had a blast.
I have had more fun than I'm entitled to have.
Yeah, your little ankle bracelet just kind of hummed and beeped a little bit, so but watch out.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank
This
you,
has
Larry.
been
Any
great.
other last minute shout outs to anybody or anything?
Larry?
No, I just encourage people, get the book. If you like fantasy sports, you're going to love it. Even people who don't play fantasy sports have loved the book because there's so many interesting stories about the entrepreneurs that created an industry. I mean, there's just like one story after another, which I didn't even really get to get into today. If you can't get it right now, just put it on your wish list for your birthday or Christmas.
Hey, I feel like I cut you short by that saying. Give me one of your stories before we let you go that would make you happy because the audience would be enriched.
And also, you always want to leave them wanting more, Larry. So give us a little teaser from the book and let's see if we can get some of those sales in for you.
Right. Well, frankly, there are like dozens of different stories. I'll just give you one little one that comes to mind. This is just one of the very because the book covers like everything because the first news services, websites, magazines, and like everything through more modern like daily fantasy sports. But one of the first stat services was run by a married couple, Jim and Gloria Berger, and what they had to do is back then you would get the stats from the USA Today on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They had the AL on Tuesday and the NL on Wednesday. So they'd get all the stats from there and put them into their computer, and then they could run their statistics reports. And one day on a Wednesday, Gloria went into labor with her first child. And they didn't let a little thing like going into labor prevent them from getting the statistics out. So in between her contractions, Gloria would read the statistics from the USA Today, and Jim would put them in the computer. And when she felt another contraction coming on, she'd be like, "Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, it's gone." And then she'd continue. And so they got the report out on time that day. And then now, 37 years later, their daughter that was born that day plays with her dad in a fantasy football league.
Wow.
That's
cool.
That really is cool. That
Yeah,
humanizes, that's the type of thing that humanizes your entire book. Because, as you say, you're dealing with lives and people.
And multi-generational.
Not just numbers.
Exactly, yeah.
I highly recommend it. Can't wait to get it. And We enjoyed having you, Larry.
Yeah, will you come back and join us again? And
I-
this time we promise we won't be late.
I certainly will.
All right, you guys.
All right.
Thank you, Larry, for joining us. Stay warm down there in Florida.
I'll try. It's only, it's a cool 92 right now or something.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's 100 in Arizona, so you made the right choice. I'm
Yeah.
serious. It's been like 100 for days on end. But there's no climate change. It's all a big myth. It's the press who feeds you that crap. Larry, we loved having you. Thank you again.
All right, guys, and make sure you check out the history of fantasy sports and the stories of the people who made it happen. For myself, Ralph Zig Tycho, we're out, right?
We are Paulie B.
All right, we'll see you next week in the zone, folks. Until next time.